Hi, guys. Welcome, everybody, to the New York Comic-Con. It's wonderful to see all you people here, all you fans and freaks and geeks and everybody else. I'm all three of them. And today we've got an amazing, amazing panel. Walking Dead, Dead City, talking all about the amazing spin-off of The Walking Dead and season 2 that is coming up. Highly anticipated new season returns this spring on AMC and AMC Plus. I've been such a fan of the Walking Dead series from day one. I'm especially a fan of the characters of Maggie, played by Lauren Cohen, who is here. And of course, the formerly evil, then good guy, babyface to heel to babyface, as we say in wrestling. We're talking about Negan, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, also here. I love seeing their story and the rivalry continue. I didn't have any idea how they would even be able to coexist on the same show, but we saw all of those things happening in season 1. What else did we see in season 1? We saw zip lines, garbage bag full of cockroaches, Argento-level maggots in steak, a key hidden in the bowels of a zombie, teenage angst, falling kamikaze walkers, zombie MMA in Madison Square Garden, amputated toes, and a giant multi-bodied fused flesh-feasting foe. What more do you want? But in season 2, the growing war for control of Manhattan continues as Maggie and Negan find themselves trapped on opposite sides and new threats emerge, as if there wouldn't be any new threats. As their paths intertwine, they come to see that the way out for both is more complicated and harrowing than they ever imagined. Let's take a look at what lies ahead in season 2 of Dead City. Power equals power. Very intriguing, very amazing, but let's get started. Please help me welcome to the stage the Walking Dead Universe Chief Content Officer, the legendary Scott M. Gimple. What does the M stand for? Millhouse. All right. We're waiting for her, the star and executive producer of Dead City, Lauren Cohen, who plays Maggie. And the star and executive producer who plays Negan, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. We also got the cast members are here. Gaius Charles, who plays Pearlie Armstrong. Here he is. Dasha Polanco, who just arrived here like literally 3 minutes ago. She plays Colonel Lucia Narvaez. Come on out, Dasha. And the evil villain of Dead City, the man who plays the Croat, Željko Ivanek is here. Let's hear it for this great cast of Dead City. About to give you a full behind-the-scenes report of season 2. Now, Scott, let's start off with you, my man. How would you describe the tone of the second season? Is it different from the first?
It turns it up. It takes everything that you loved about season 1 and it just cranks it up. There's more discovery. There's more characters. There's more intensity between these two. And I don't know, we see corners that we've never thought of in New York City. And I think that the amount of just scope that we achieved this year was unbelievable. So,
absolutely.
There you go. Yeah.
Lauren, first of all, I wanted to ask you, playing the character of Maggie, was it ever going to be difficult for you to coexist with Negan in a universe after he viciously butchered your husband with a barbed wire baseball bat. We can
Let's just rehash that.
You're not going to let that go?
Yeah. But no, it's been a walk in the park. Yeah, no, it's just sort of like every mother's dream, I think, is to spend the rest of her days finding friendship with the man who brutally murdered her husband and then build a new life together and bring a whole band along. And no, I never would have imagined when we started the show, neither one of us would, that this is where we would have the privilege of ending up, to be face-to-face and toe-to-toe with someone and maybe forgive, maybe find common ground, maybe be extremely challenged along the way and get to ask really deep human questions and do it with a lot of fun and action and a huge fan base. Can I just give a shout out? A huge fan base.
I really felt that from watching this season. I was starting to piece it together, like you actually can coexist in this world, the way you guys really built that relationship really well in the first season.
Yeah, we've been lucky. And now we're lucky enough to bring new people into the family and have
Absolutely.
a freaking great time.
Jeffrey, as Negan, we're talking about how he's been evil, he's been good, so many iterations through the years, seen so many different sides of him. Can you share with us which version of Negan we should be prepared to see this season?
Well, believe it or not, it's going to be, I think, and yet a different side of Negan that we're going to see this year. That's what I love about playing him, is that I think over the last 8 or 9 seasons, I find something new. The writers find something new, and so the character has evolved or devolved in some cases. But what I always like to say is Negan is always still Negan. So as much as he may evolve, that guy that we met 8 years ago stepping out of a trailer, he's still in there, which I think is kind of fun for me and the audience.
And we can say that we do see that guy.
Yeah.
We see that guy who stepped out of the trailer this year.
Yeah. Well, I think we want to see that guy.
But that's what we love about the character of Negan. Like it's always a lot easier as a character to make people hate you than it is to make them like you at first. But when they start hating the villain, that's when they start liking the villain, and then the villain becomes very popular, which is where Negan is at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that he's popular.
Is he Negan popular, guys? Come on.
I mean, I did kind of fucking set you up, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Gaius, can you describe Pearlie's relationship with Maggie as we move into this next season?
Yeah, so the end of the first season, Maggie and I were not really friends, but this season we have to work together to kind of find some common ground and get some methane. I don't know if you heard about the methane. But yeah, we have to kind of work through our differences and kind of figure out how to deal with what's going on.
Which you have to figure that out. You need to know. Jelko, your character, the Croat, is incredibly devious and is a former scientist as well. What did you do to prepare for this role, and did you have to learn any new skills? Science skills, perchance?
Someone else takes care of the science for me, thank God. A lot of it was just, first of all, digging into the Maggie and Negan history, just to figure out what is this sitting on top of, and to examine my idol, Negan there, because he has so much modeled himself after him. And then someone who's just kind of channeling my father, who was... he and I were born in the same hospital in what's now Slovenia, but he grew up in Croatia, and when I read the script, I literally hear his voice and his way of talking and his way of telling a story. And so some of my favorite parts are just when he gets to kind of speak again through me. He passed away a couple of years ago. And that's been kind of one of the most fun things to dig into. But the story and then the science part of it, I rely on the script, and it's been really pretty amazing writing this season.
I loved in season 1 when the guy brought you the steak with the big maggot in it, and you made him eat the key. And I was like, why is he making him eat the key? And then later on we find out, oh, that's why. Because the guy becomes a zombie, reach into the stomach, pull out the key to unhip the handcuffs. That was very cool.
Thank you. A few steps ahead there, yeah.
Dasha, welcome to the universe.
Yay!
Right? Now, we haven't seen your character yet, but what can you tease about Colonel Lucia Narvaez, and what did you do to prepare to play this character?
I definitely am a fan of the universe already, and I watched the first season, and I was intrigued by how will I come in here and be welcomed. And I was very welcomed, but there was a lot of resistance to Colonel, to Lucia Narvaez. But I definitely used my ROTC days from high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I learned about weapons. I learned about a gun and how to do things with it and use it as a way of gaining power. But the way that it was written definitely helped me to develop this character. And I must say, this is like my favorite. I told you guys that. This is my favorite role that I have played thus far.
Wow.
Wow.
You guys want to see an exclusive clip? We don't have any, sorry. No, we do. An exclusive clip right here from the 2nd season of Dead City. Let's take a look. That is amazing stuff. Scott, there's a definite advancement to the walkers that I've noticed. They're a little bit more facially ugly. I mentioned this fused, crazy...
Did you say facially ugly?
Facially uglier.
I'm gonna just pin that.
You can
I'm
be
zombie
bodily
shaped.
Have feelings.
facially ugly.
Where did you come up with this idea, or that multi-fused? Did you guys see this? There's like 3 zombies kind of morphed into one.
The Zombie King.
The Zombie King. It almost looked like something from Last of Us or something. Like that was a really cool kind of advancement in these.
I mean, that you got to give that to Eli. You know, Eli Journet, who's not with us here today, but he's really into rats. He loves his rats, and rats can they don't really fuse together, but they wind up twirled up together into sort of a rat king. And this is a zombie king in his mind. Now, granted, we have a lot of decomposing bodies on this show in the tunnels of New York and other places too, and these kind of fused into each other. Yeah.
This stuff
They weren't born that way.
No, it's great. This is, take a social media question here, from @JustMissGold. For Lauren and Jeffrey, did you guys ever think you'd be playing these characters for this long?
No. Lauren? No. And the fact that we're part of a spinoff together, too. I'd put money down 8 years ago that in a million years that couldn't happen. But what a joy. I mean, the fact that we still get to play these characters that are constantly evolving, and it's so rare. One shows don't last longer than a season really anymore.
Except Supernatural.
Grey's Anatomy, The Boys. I've been very fucking lucky. But this is my favorite.
There you go, even better.
That's the right answer.
All right. In that last scene, Lauren, we saw Maggie's motherly instincts kick in as she tried to stop Jenny, played by Mahina Napoleon, from entering the corral of walkers after Colonel Narvaez asked for volunteers. What can you tell us about Maggie's relationship with Jenny, who has a very strong connection with Negan?
I can first say teenagers, huh?
Yeah. Jeez.
My friend back here watched that clip and she said, that's how I talk to my child when they don't do what I tell them to do. No, I think this relationship with Ginny, Maggie's relationship to Ginny is a promise that I made to Negan. You know, he went into the depths of the dungeon that the Croat had, and I got my son in exchange, and I promised that I would look after Ginny. And so I take the responsibility pretty seriously, and it is also testament to just the the life that we're sort of unpacking here in the apocalypse, it still has a very grounded reality in a parent trying to raise kids and keep them safe in an unsafe world. And the unsafe world, in this case, has zombie kings and Lucia Narvaez's and a lot of challenges. And as you saw in that scene, they've come to draft us for this mission. And Ginny's a feisty, incredible kid. And she, as you guys know from season 1, she doesn't talk a lot, but she definitely speaks with her actions. And she wants to go in and fight and prove that she can go and do what Narvaez and Armstrong's character want. And so it's challenging because at the end of the day, teenagers want to do what they want to do and not what their guardian wants them to do often. So just bring in the real. Just bring in the real here this year, guys.
Gaius, what can you tell us about Pearlie's motivations this season? Is the rule of law still the code he lives by?
Yeah, I think on the surface, I'm trying to figure out how to keep the facade of New Babylon going, but also deal with these complications and, that whole thing about what's black and white and what's, the different shades of gray. Trying to navigate, doing the right thing and what does that even mean. Trying to navigate some of these unlikely relationships that I'm around. Like I mean, the audience knows the whole Negan Maggie storyline, but me as Armstrong, I'm like, what's up with you guys? Like, what is that about? And then finally, I find out a few episodes in. So yeah, I think it's that balance between sort of navigating the right, the wrong, but also just the gray areas of life and the gray areas of just the relationships that we explore.
All right. That's a good answer. Jelko, at the end of the last season, we learned that your character was not in full control of Manhattan. He was actually being controlled by the mysterious Dama, played by Lisa Emery. Can you describe his relationship with her? Does he fear the Dama? Does he respect the Dama?
I think the Dama is the parent he keeps looking for, and that was Negan for a time. In this world where he's lost so much. He's lost his family, all that was detailed in the first season. He's just looking for a strong center. And in the absence of Negan, that turns out to be the Dama. He also talks in the first season about that one of his gifts is reading people and finding the weakness in people, and that is her, but except she does it like 3D chess. And it's kind of surprising his susceptibility to that, but her ability to kind of pull out of him and pull out of all the people around her what she wants from them in spite of themselves is something I think he just blindly follows in this case because he is so desperate for someone above to make him feel safer and to make his world a little safer.
Dasha, what has surprised you most about joining the Walking Dead universe?
The walkers? No. There was times where I was on set, I was like, oh, they're really real. I think what surprised me the most is that it's not just about walkers and
right.
It's like the survival, the loyalty that we see across the relationships, the layers to that as me coming in, introducing this new character and peeling back and understanding that they have there's a history and she's very goal-driven. And so everyone here has an intention there's a purpose behind everything done. And the way that it's written is really beautifully depicted in this season, especially when it comes to the dynamics and the relationship, the ones that are already established and the ones that are reintroduced. And I really enjoyed the fact that, I'm just not coming in and messing things up. I'm more so there's a purpose behind what I do. And my loyalty is to the New Babylon, and that's what it's about. But then eventually you'll see that it's more than just Babylon and the methane and so on.
Is it hard to come into a cast of the second season where they all know each other and they're probably very connected? Is it hard, it's like being the new kid in school?
It's intimidating, it's intimidating, but for the most part, everybody was very welcoming, and I met everyone before we got to set. We spoke about, well, except for...
We just met.
We just met.
Oh, wow.
Backstage.
And I just met Negan, even though I met his trailer on set. You know, shooting schedule, sometimes you don't get to meet the actors you're with, but for the most part, it felt at home in the city of Dead City.
Dead City. Scott, can we expect any more cameos or surprises from other TWD characters in future seasons of Dead City?
In future seasons of Dead City, can you expect it? I mean, you could expect it. I mean, I'm not telling you not to expect it. You know, it's a layered universe, and so much of the history is important to the present, so it's going to be super satisfying when I say this. You never know.
Right. It's an option and a possibility, is what Scott is saying. This year, on this season, Lauren Cohen directs. What was your favorite part about being behind the camera, and what's the hardest part about being behind the camera?
Maybe the same, the hardest and the favorite. Favorite, working with actors. Absolute favorite part. I mean, you get to do, oh, hey, there's us. Measuring something. And I think my favorite part is... Can you switch to the next picture? I think I was framing up on Joko's face in this shot. Looking. Wow. I like my hands. I like how I move my hands. Yeah. No, there's like, I don't even have words for what a time I had doing this. It was really incredible. It required a lot of, I think everybody chuckling.
Very into it there.
A lot of focus, a lot of preparation, and all of that begot this.
Yay!
This.
We got the shot.
Yay! Yeah. It's great. Anybody who's pursued difficult things knows what it is to pursue difficult things. It's like, it's rewarding and it's challenging, and but there are so many quiet, blissful moments of like making art with your friends that's unparalleled. It's incredible. We had a great
She was extraordinary. She was an extraordinary director. She knew exactly what she wanted every day. She gave incredible notes. And that's hard to do. That's hard to give notes to people that have been playing these characters for so long. But the way she could come in and communicate what she wanted, I was completely impressed. She really knew her shit, and it showed.
Literally.
I mean, like truly, it was. She made a great director. Yeah.
Is it hard to direct yourself, though?
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. It's just sometimes in action sequences, I've definitely learned to ramp myself up to meet the level of intensity of this show, and as people know, and then coming back down, and then having an outside perspective, but then not wanting to take too much time to watch it back, so you have to find like trusted advisors to help you know if you got it, but you lay the groundwork for all that stuff as early as possible, and you plan, and yeah, it was fun. It was crazy.
I always envision you're like looking behind the camera, you go, action.
Yeah. No, that's what happens.
She did do that.
It's kind of how it works.
Or I'd have
Got
like
it.
people. I had a lot of people helping, and I was like, "Can you be here for 1 second? Okay, do this," and then you just find it requires so much trust and so much communication, and then when you have those things, you can just really sail. So, and I did. So it was great, and a lot of this.
Jelko, were you able to provide any advice to the newcomers on set this season?
Well, since we just met,
No?
I'll take it now.
No, everybody's coming in with their own story and their own contribution to this world. My best advice was like, what are the good restaurants in the Boston area? Because everybody kind of has to find their own way in. I knew how welcoming the set felt when I started in the first season, and so you want to carry that on and make everybody feel as welcome as possible. But that's just basically passing on what we got from Lauren and Jeffrey coming in. But after that, it's kind of everybody for himself, and people will figure it out.
We saw some new cast members, Kim Coates, we saw in the preview, Keir, great, amazing, Sons of Anarchy, Keir Gilchrist, Jake Weary, and Puya Moliseni. Scott, what can you tease about the new characters that are joining the show?
Like everybody you just mentioned play very, very different characters. I will say Kim Coates is a force of nature. He is hilarious, and he can be scary, and often at the same time. He's surprised with every take, and meeting him was one of the more hilarious things I think that's happened to me on set. Just the way he just like took my arm and just started grilling me and making me laugh, and yes, making me scared. It's an incredible cast, and but I will say, Kim is something else. Get ready. The character he plays is called Bruegel, and I just, you know, yeah. Did you say it's fire?
I said it's fire.
Okay, that's it. He's fire. That means good, right?
That means good.
It's good.
All right, well, this is a New York Comic-Con, which means that we have another exclusive clip just for you guys. But you gotta cheer really loud, all right? 1, 2, 3, go! Just what we were waiting for in the Walking Dead series, a fucking flamethrower! Yeah! And the return of Lucille. I have a bat that I use in AEW for wrestling, and I wanted to give it a name like Lucille, so I chose Floyd. I have Floyd the Bat. Directly a homage to Lucille right there. What can you tell us about that scene? That was amazing. So action-packed, exciting.
Yeah, it was a fun scene to do. We talk about, you know, the original iteration of Negan, and I think that this scene we get to see the Negan that we know and love rear his face again. You know, Negan's in a predicament this season. We are soon to find out. My favorite part of that scene is Yoko's reaction, by the way. Back there, like, doing that. When we shot it, I was loving everything he was doing.
You are my God.
Keenly aware of it. But I think Lucille is a big deal. Lucille 2.0, obviously she's got a few tricks up her sleeve. And I love her, and I couldn't be happier to have her back.
Yeah, nice. And
Lucille thanks you for that.
Got to get Lucille and Floyd to go on a blind date at some point in time. Gaius, you previously talked about doing many of your own stunts last season, which is amazing. Can we expect more stunts and walker slayings from you this season?
Yes. I mean, you know, going back to the way we shot, it's like, you know, I guess when I watched, because I watched the entire original show and was amazed by it, but I didn't realize how many times you guys were actually doing the stunts, you know, and until I got to set. But yeah, it was just so much fun. The folks that came on to be our stunt directors who did our pyrotechnics, they were just like really great, felt really safe. You saw the flamethrowers, there's tons of other things going on, explosions, fire, what else? Just pulling out all the stops. And I think particularly the premiere, you guys are really gonna enjoy.
What's the hardest stunt that you had to do?
The hardest stunt? I don't know. I feel like season 1, the cage match, that was pretty cool. Speaking of the key and all that stuff, that was pretty cool. I remember when we were rehearsing it. Do you remember walking in to watch the rehearsal?
I was like, you're going to kill him with a boot? You untie your boot?
I untie my boot. Yeah. But that's a good point. Because, like, okay, talking to the wrestlers, like, that's the point. I'm like, okay, they're definitely going to double on it. I mean, come on. And my stunt double walks up to me. He's like, you got it. But it was cool. It turned out really well.
Yeah, all right.
Awesome.
Dasha, are there any qualities that you admire about your character?
Yeah, absolutely. She's determined. By any means, she's gonna get to where she has to get by any means necessary, and she doesn't care who she has to challenge. I also got to do my own stunts with you. A couple of stunts, you know, like taking my coat off, not as luxurious as you. But hey, that was fun.
How about you, Jeffrey? What qualities do you admire about Negan?
Such a loaded question, Chris. I mean, I think there is something to be said for anybody that is still alive this far along in the apocalypse. So all of the characters that are up on this stage, or all the actors that are playing these characters, the fact that they've survived this long, and I think the same goes for Negan. He has figured out how to stay alive. And that's meant a lot of different things over the years. You know, it used to be kind of a in-your-face leadership kind of strength, fear quality, and that has changed over the years. I think I admire that about him, his ability to adapt. He can read a room. He's Jelko said earlier about you know, being a chess player. I think Negan's always been a chess player and has been lucky enough to be a move or two ahead. And I think this year he's going to kind of run into it a little bit and maybe not be a move or two ahead. But I think those are some qualities that and I like that he has a soft spot for the younger generation and wants them to survive which doesn't always make sense with Negan, the way he is with people, but he likes kids and he wants them to survive, and will do everything he can to help that happen.
All right. One thing I love about both the spin-offs, Dead City and Daryl, is that we've got these very strong female characters that started very differently, obviously with Carol and Melissa, this meek kind of housewife that becomes the ultimate badass in that world. I feel it's the same, yeah, right? I feel it's the same with Maggie in this world, starting out as a farm girl, and now you're leading, you know, the charge against the walkers. How has that development been for you? Right. Talk about kind of that development to where you are now as to when you first started playing this character, you know, a dozen years ago or whatever it's been.
I mean, I think, thank you. And I think that it's so rare to do something for this long and have to believe that our universe and our show and our characters are resonant to the real things that people feel. And I think that when you talk about being strong, what is it to be strong? We've seen Maggie fight in physical situations that seem insurmountable. We've seen her raising her son. We've seen her kill hordes and hordes of zombies. We've seen her kill other people, and at the time thinking that these were the right choices to protect the greater good. And the thing that I like most about this season is that there's an element of blinders that she has worn for a long time to get through these insane situations. And amidst that, she has not killed one person who is the source of so much unrest. And I think that in so many ways, the best is yet to come in what it really takes to find inner strength, and in constantly facing a nemesis, and in trying to understand why you don't take the easy road. Finding common ground with someone is a pretty strong thing to do. Facing your own demons continually is a strong thing to do. And I like this season because she makes a lot of mistakes. And I think it's important to represent characters that make a lot of mistakes, and it's important to continue to represent growth and to try to be representative of things that people really go through. I struggle with my son. I'm an imperfect parent. I'm angry. I'm intense. I make mistakes. And yet I keep going, Maggie, and she keeps going. And I think that that's been the greatest gift, is to play a character navigating so many things against the greatest obstacles you can imagine, and to keep persevering. So, yeah, I guess.
One of the hardest jobs in the world, also being a single mom.
Yeah.
In the middle of a freaking zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. Right. But I also...
Even without a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think this is also something that really does bond. When Jeff brings up the soft side of Negan, I think it's this, like, whether these characters realize it or not, they are linked over such common principles that I think have kept them bound, and they keep the engine of the two of them going through this universe together. So it's fun. It's fun. I'm getting choked up. It actually wasn't.
Scott, is there any ideas for any other spin-offs that you have in mind?
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. All right, definitely. No, I mean, we're constantly in the lab, and, there's weird things that people haven't even seen before, and then there's things with characters that people love, and we're working on those as we speak.
Can I suggest Walking Dead Winnipeg, where you go up to northern Canada, and every 6 months the zombies just freeze? So, like, you fight them for, like, actually probably 4 months they're alive, and then 8 months it's super frozen, and you can just hang out.
I think that sounds great. Let's get to work. I mean,
Walking Dead Winnipeg, coming soon. There's your headline.
Walking Dead Hawaii coming after that.
That's right. There you go. Just nonstop fighting. We're starting to get to the point. We're going to take some questions from you guys, but last few questions for you. Is there a certain scene that stands out for you? Obviously, it's going to be hard for you, Dasha, because we haven't seen the scenes yet. But for the rest of you in season 1, your favorite scene from Dead City that stands out for you. You want to start, Jelko? Is there one for you?
That scene in the cathedral actually was one of my favorite scenes.
Oh, that we just saw?
Yeah, that we just saw, which was preceded by what you don't see on one of those days, it was Jeffrey's birthday. And thanks to Mikey, our director, he was serenaded by a very persistent man in a pink bear suit, who it took about 10 minutes to get off the stage. And the look on your face from on that day was the memory I'm going away with.
As how filthy the suit was that was getting
Oh,
me.
it's been through a few birthdays.
Oh, boy.
And he was...
I think he was trying to throw a lap dance down on me, too. It was the suit that got me. The lap dance, fine. The suit, dirty.
Is there one, Dasha, you can allude to without giving too much away? Something we're going to see?
Yeah, it's been very difficult for me to not give stuff away, as you can see. But definitely the one that they just showed when Maggie and Ginny interact. That was always their interaction was always entertaining. Me being in it, and from the audience perspective, they really enjoy that dynamic. It's great to see the arc of that and where it's headed.
How about you guys?
Without giving too much away, I think there's some scenes, well, I know there's some scenes, in a particular part of New York City that we go to. And what's interesting is, finding all these different groups of people and how they deal with, the apocalypse and everything. But we find this particular group that deals with things very differently than the rest of the group, and, is not as violent, and just has other ways of dealing with the trauma and the chaos that actually work and actually make a lot of sense. So, I don't know, Dasha and I had a lot of those scenes, and I just thought it was really cool to see another perspective, because I think when we think of, the apocalypse and everything like that, we think of just the chaos and the confusion and the horror, but there can be some beauty and some grace in it, and I think that group kind of brings it out.
How about you, Jeffrey?
I had a couple scenes this year with Lauren that I thought were really special, and I had a lot of stuff with Yoko this year. But one scene in particular really stands out, and Lauren directed it. And I just remember, like, I just being spellbound by his performance and, like, kind of forgetting to do my job because I was so into what he was doing that I just kind of forgot what I was doing. But it was so good and so powerful. And then, and I had a couple scenes with Lauren this year that really stand out. And I can't really tell you anything about it because Scott would fucking kill me. But yeah, there was some good stuff.
Lauren, even from season 1, is there something that you liked good? Or?
Yeah, it's just so funny as everybody's going down the line. I'm just remembering my favorite things with each person, and have like a Rolodex of the favorite things from when I was writing the episode. You know what my favorite one with you was, and nobody's gonna know yet. And then, yeah, and just like the experience. Yeah, just a lot of great experiences, and just getting to be awed by how incredible everybody is, and to work with you guys, and to see the show, and to I don't know, it's just like acting camp, and we get paid to do it. We're so lucky, and I'm just grateful. And then, yeah, Jeff and I had one scene in particular in episode 6 that was really, I think, meaningful for our characters, and yeah, it was good. Excellent. No spoilers.
Scott, are you overall, I'm sure you're very thrilled with season 1 of Dead City. Turned out great. What can we, you mentioned you're going to wrap it up for season 2. What else can we expect from this?
From season 2? It's funny, it's just you were talking about like favorite scenes.
Oh, give me the favorite scene.
Well, no, but no, it's going to be really, my favorite scene is like one of the most intense scenes from the finale. So I'm not going to tell you here, but there's a scene in the finale. It's pretty much the emotional peak of the season. And it is just, there's so much going on in there. There's this heartbreak and horror. There's intensity between these 2 characters. I'm not going to say which ones. And yeah, I just watched that scene over and over again because it just blew me away. So I'm just saying, in watching this series, it leads up to such an emotional conclusion that, well, I can't wait for you guys to see it.
All right, coming this spring, season 2, AMC, MC+. We've got about 10 minutes left, so we're going to take some of your questions that you hopefully have submitted digitally, is what I was told. Or maybe you do it now. You do the main, tap play, NYCC. There it is, okay. Let's see. Oh, okay, wow. How do you decompress and unwind after a hard day on set? Jeffrey, go ahead.
I haven't. But you know what? By preparing for the next day's work, generally, it's, when you're doing a TV show like this, you don't have a lot of time to decompress because you have to work again the next day. And so now you're preparing for that. We did spend a lot of time driving to locations, so a lot of my time decompressing was just the drive home at 3 in the morning or whatever it was. And going for walks on weekends. That's what I like to do. Hopefully see my kids.
Peaceful, right?
Yeah.
Emmy wants to know, Scott, is there any Easter eggs in season 1 that maybe we've missed?
Damn, I don't know if people miss stuff in season 1. Easter eggs. You know what? I'm not going to waste people's time. I'm going to think about that.
All right.
Other questions are being asked, because that's a good question, but a hard one.
All right.
Were they chocolate or egg form? Egg.
Yeah, they were the Cadbury cream
Easter
time.
cream eggs.
We just let them bake in the sun. Yeah.
Methane eggs.
These questions are flying by, so I'm just trying to remember them. Lauren, somebody would like to know, who's your influence as a director that you try to emulate your directing style?
I think taking pieces from everyone. I definitely called so many friends who have directed. My favorite phone call before I started the season was to Lenny James, And he's a friend anyway, but I had never sat down, interview style, with Lenny and just said, tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly, what's going to hurt. And he said, nothing will prepare you. You can be as prepared as you like. And when I stepped behind the camera in that moment, my heart was racing in a way that it hasn't as an actor for 20 years. And hearing that from someone who I respect so much was already just like, okay, cool. If Lenny can be scared, just be ready to be scared. It's going to happen. So, yeah, but just constantly taking inspo from everywhere you can.
Jelka, what's your favorite part of the New York Comic Con so far?
This crowd is astonishing. I'll take that. And hearing that sound and hearing the history of that is pretty amazing to actually see in person. And also, you wouldn't believe the trails and tunnels and hallways that are underneath this building.
It's unbelievable.
I know.
It's an amazing place.
I was walking
But it
down-
all leads here.
It's like something from literally from Day of the Dead in the shopping mall. There's just completely barren areas of tunnels all over this place.
It's 4 hours of This Is Spinal Tap trying to get to the stage.
Hello, Cleveland! How about you, Dasha? Favorite thing about New York Comic Con?
The audience.
Yeah.
They're fun. And seeing these people again. Thank you.
Gaius, if you could work with one actor from the Walking Dead universe again, who would it be?
Again, well, obviously these guys. But I actually had the pleasure of meeting Melissa and Norman
Yes, me
from
too.
their show.
What great people.
Yeah, amazing. And so I'm, huge fans of all the actors, all the OGs from the original Walking Dead.
Jeffrey, who's your favorite character from the Walking Dead universe that's dead? That's not with us anymore.
Dead.
It's dead, yeah. Is there one? No, I wasn't trying to lead you down that road. I like Carl. I wish Carl never died.
Look, all good, but I like cutlets. He doesn't give enough credit, you know what I mean? Glenn just fucking took all the love. But look, everybody that has passed on this show, they're all doing very well in real life, for one. In contact with a lot of them, doing great. Some have been nominated for Oscars and shit.
Lauren and Jeffrey, what's it been like obtaining executive producer titles and having more control on the show?
It's exciting. I mean, we get to be in at the ground level, and it's inspiring more than anything else. It's just like, we've done this for a long time, and in one capacity, and then you go in and you could kind of just be confident with what you know and what you don't know, because you do have, our characters and our experience in the show and as actors under our belt. But more than anything, it's just, I don't know. For me, it was definitely interacting with every department in a whole new way and in a meaningful way. And then having meaningful conversations about our show, how it gets promoted, how we do it, who gets to join our show. That's one of the most exciting parts, is meeting new actors and
Right.
bringing them into the fold. And
It
that's
turns
something
into
you
a
get.
full-time job. It's a year-round job. I think that's a big change. Used to just kind of walk off the set on that last day and kind of put it aside until we were back, 6 months later, and now that doesn't exist, and so it's always on the forefront, and we have so much invested in this, in the show, and the characters, and that's awesome. It's awesome to care that much, I think, about a job.
For sure.
You put that much more into it every single day. And so, we want to make the best show for y'all that we possibly can. And it's nice being a voice, one of many voices that make this show, because there's a lot of people that make it that are amazing. And so it's cool.
And it is awesome, because when you make a TV show, you have to do so many meetings, so many Zooms, and I do love that you guys know what that's like now.
And continue to opt in.
Continue.
last few questions. Here's one from Chris J. from Winnipeg. How early on did you guys find out, Lauren and Jeffrey, that you were going to be having a spinoff? Did you know this as Walking Dead was winding down? Did they call you into a meeting and say, hey guys, we got an idea for you?
It was in season 10? No, it was in season 11.
Yeah.
Because when we came to do season 11, we knew the show would either go on for 4 more years and we would essentially take over the old show.
That's right.
Or we would go and do this new show, and it would be in New York, and it'd be a whole new thing.
Well, and I remember that they had they came to us both about doing like a Negan show and a Maggie show, and then I think Scott was like, what about the two of y'all? And we all thought that kind of made the most sense. And because these are like two characters that you would never expect to even be in the same room, much less go and do a spin-off and have to like spend real time together. And that's what we've done, and it's been really super, it's awesome. But yeah, we found out a long time ago.
All right.
That's the question.
Okay.
Yeah, we knew like at least halfway through the last season.
When they played Thomas and Martha Wayne,
Yeah.
like, that was really the impetus.
Somebody wants to know, if you were a zombie, what kind of a noise would you make, Scott? Yeah.
Me. So there's all these performers on stage. They want to know what's. You know what? Okay, I'm not going to answer that question, but I'll tell you something embarrassing. In the episode where Morgan chokes out one of the saviors, actually, that worked for Gavin, this might be deep cut for all you guys. We were in the mix, and the sound wasn't right. And I was like, you know what? I'll do the sound. And I went into the sound booth to do it, and I got the sound, but I almost threw up. So, okay, I hope that works.
Yeah, good. Last question. Someone wants to know, who wins between zombies and New York City rats? Have you seen them?
You know what? For Eli, we got to say rats. Because he's all about the rats. So.
I want to hear what the audience thinks if we say, you lead this, Chris, but we'll say zombies and you guys can cheer, and then we'll say rats.
All right, so this is a question for you fine proprietors here, attendees of the New York Comic Convention. How many people here are actually from New York? So we've seen these creatures, these crazy New York City rats. So, by noise, who wins? Zombies?
Hands down, rats.
That's fucking great.
It's a blowout.
You guys ready for this? And rats! Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing cast of Walking Dead, Dead City, Season 2, coming this spring on AMC and AMC+. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hello, Comic-Con. I'm so honored to be here with all of you tonight to moderate a panel for The Walking Dead, Daryl, Dixon, The Book of Carol. You know, I've been a fan of Walking Dead since the day Greg Nicotero brought me a copy of the first comic book when we were making Sin City. And he said, look, someone made a comic book for us because we loved zombies. And like a lot of you, I loved the series. And I was just blown away again by this show with its unique tone, seeing Daryl Dixon battling walkers in Paris with iconic landmarks as the backdrop, the music, the look of the new walkers. And it's just so cool to see a continuation of Daryl Dixon's journey. And just when you thought it couldn't get better, Season 2 brought back Carol, played once again by the wonderful Melissa McBride. We are 3 episodes into this second season with brand new episodes airing Sunday nights on AMC and AMC+. I'm sure you share in my excitement of seeing Carol back on screen and following her journey to France while she searches for Daryl. Meanwhile, Daryl is struggling with his decision to stay in France with Isabelle and Laurent and is trying to find a way back home with both of them. Will Daryl and Carol reunite halfway around the world? Will Daryl look to stay in France with his new connections he's formed? And can he stop Janae and her army? Well, let's try and pry some answers from the cast and executive producers who are here with us tonight. Please welcome Chief Content Officer of the Walking Dead universe, Scott M. Gimple. Woo. Showrunner and executive producer, David Zabel. Executive producer and star, Melissa McBride. Executive producer and director, Greg Nicotero. The actor who plays Laurent, Louis Fish-Scigliuzzi. And do we have one more? Oh yeah, Daryl Dixon himself, executive producer, star Norman Reedus. Thank you all. It's incredible seeing everybody back on stage together. I want to start off with a question for David. David, how did you approach this season change with the addition of Carol into the storyline? And what was it like working with Melissa since you hadn't worked with her before?
Yeah, it was super exciting for everybody, especially the writers, as we were starting to anticipate season 2 and bringing Carol into the story. We already had this great story going with Norman in France, and then we got to inject this new energy with this character that everybody loves, of course. And so we were just really psyched about building towards this reunion of them. And on the second part of the question, working with Melissa, she's very difficult. She's very difficult. I could only speak through other people. I had to avert my gaze most of the time, not look. No, it was actually super fantastic to have an actor as good as she is, who knows the character as well as she does, and be able to sit down right from the beginning, before anything was written, before anything, and say, what are the things that you feel about Carol that are sort of the next progression of the character in the universe of The Walking Dead, and how can we both be true to the history of the character and all the amazing things that she's been through, but also move the character forward and progress forward out of that past. So we had it was a remarkable experience, you know, that collaboration with her, and it's similar to what Norman and I did and the writers did in season 1 again. But it was fantastic, and that's part of the reason that the work is so great that she does. It's imbued by sort of a totality of that.
Woo! Scott, you're the architect of this universe, so how do you keep all these storylines fresh on all the different shows, especially on a show with films in Europe, and it's also different than the others tonally and visually?
It's just working with great people. I mean, it's working with people like David, working with people like his right-hand man, Jason, and these two people here. No, I mean, the energy that Norman and Melissa have brought to this, respectively, made this happen. And, you know, I would say, especially in the first season regarding France, there was a world where France was not going to be shot in France. And Norman made his opinions be known. And just talking about Carol with Melissa on a very long trip across Long Island, and hearing everything she was going to talk to David about, it was amazing. And then you got people like Andy and Denai, you got people like Jeffrey and Lauren, and these actors love these characters, and these actors love this show. And people like Eli, of course. It's just a great group of people, and I guess I just got the best seat in the house. That's it. So,
Melissa,
Yes.
we're so excited to have Carol back. Woo! Carol is back. 2 questions. How did it feel stepping back into the shoes of a character you played so long, and also, you're also the executive producer now. Can you talk a bit about that new role as well?
I didn't hear a word you said.
Oh, okay. We're so excited to have Carol back. How did it feel stepping back into the shoes of this character that you've played for so long? And then also as the executive producer, how is that role different?
As an executive producer, I feel like I'm laying a little low, watching the big guys, learning, enjoying the meetings. I learn a lot from those meetings. And as well, realizing what all's been taking place before I ever became an executive producer and the things that they talk about. I wish I'd known. Oh, boy. And the other part of the question,
yeah.
Very exciting stepping back into the role because I love to play with Norman. Right?
Yes.
It's so much fun to work with, so much fun to play with, and we're getting to shoot in some really incredible locations and tell some very good story.
Yeah. Norman. Daryl's recent kiss with Isabel is such a big deal for the character.
You're gonna hit me with that
Their
right off the
relationship's
bat.
only deepened. Their relationship is only deepened this season. What is it about Isabel that he connects with, you think?
Well, I think she has a past. I think, her whole intention is to take care of Laurent, which is very admirable to him, I believe. And, this kid's not going to make it out in the real world. But that's her whole goal in life. And I think he can relate to that. And I think that he watches a change in her. That kiss, I have to tell you, was at the worst time of day because there were so many mosquitoes and bugs on our faces, and we just kept looking at each other, and there'd be a bug here, a bug here, a bug here. So, but she's a trooper. It was an interesting conversation, but I want to say hi to Mateo at the end. Yeah. Do you want to say anything, Mateo?
Honestly, the show, the part where she kisses Daryl just
Don't
made
get me in
question,
trouble.
what is this reality?
Wow, there's a lot of people I think that might agree with you.
He writes for Forbes.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say he just got the job as the next villain on The Walking Dead.
Hey, Greg, you directed the season's premiere episode, which recreated the famous bar scene with Sophia from the mothership. Can you talk about the decision to include this pivotal scene from the past in this episode, and what it means to you to direct this episode, which brings Carol back into the fold?
Well, it was really wild because, part of my job is maintaining continuity between this series and the original show. So when the writers pitched this idea that Carol is sort of dealing with some resurrected demons, and one of them being Sophia, when we did that, I remember when we shot that scene originally, running, at Herschel's farm with the barn and the power and the emotion that was there. So to recreate that, not only was it exciting for me because it took me back to season 2, but then recreating the front of the barn and looking at the camera angles and saying there was a zombie here, there was a bale of hay here. And ironically, we had to cast a lookalike actress in France who didn't speak any English, so it was a little tricky to get her to do what we need to do. But we had her mimic all of Sophia's movements. And it was really wild to recreate shot for shot. And it just reminded me, look, guys, we have to remember one thing. The Walking Dead's been on for almost 15 years. And the show, there's a baby here that probably will be 15 by the time The Walking Dead goes off the air. So just think about that. But it's been really exciting to have the fans be with us for so long and love these characters that we're so in love with, and realize how the amazing journey that we've gone on. So for that, to recreate that moment was really special to me. So I loved it.
And I do have to say, well, clap first and then I'll say it. Yeah. In the way that, you know, I can do my job, I left Greg out of that, but I lean on Greg a great deal. So thank you, Greg.
Thanks. And look, just give it up for Robert, too, for doing this with us.
Thank you, Robert.
Wouldn't want to be up here.
Robert and I first worked together on From Dusk Till Dawn. And then we've done, I think we figured it was, 19 movies? Probably 19. Together? A lot. So I was really delighted to have him moderate our panel.
Who wouldn't want to be up here? This is the best place to be. Louis, welcome to New York Comic Con. Have you been to New York before?
No, it's my first time here.
Well, it's all downhill from here because this is the best New York is at. When it's Comic-Con.
Yeah, I feel that.
Can you talk about what it was like taking on this role of Laurent and working alongside Norman?
I mean, it's been great. Norman's just like great company, and he's just the funniest guy ever, right? And I mean, he's also a great actor, and you know, I mean, all those guys, they helped me, you know, develop as an actor, and developed also my role and the way I play Laurent, and I just want to thank all of them.
You're the best.
He's the best.
He's the best.
I'm going to tell that story. I'm going to quickly tell you a story about what an incredible person Louis is, which Norman just reminded me of today. At one point early on, we'd been going for a little while, and I said, Louis, I just want you to know you're doing an excellent job. And he looked at me and he said, you're doing an excellent job too. That's the only time an actor has ever said that to me.
You are doing an excellent job.
You yeah.
Hey, Scott, are there any Easter eggs we should look out for that might tie in any of these spin-offs together? Just wondering.
You know, specific to this season, there's something in there that's really important, and I wouldn't classify it as an Easter egg, but we're not like putting the camera right on top of it. It's going to be in the background, but it's an important piece of mythology.
The thing with the thing, yeah. But the other thing, there is another thing that is sort of a reference to the past that the audience, I think, will...
That's a full Easter egg.
That's a full Easter egg that comes up, you know, the other thing.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
That thing.
Yeah, I mean...
The answer is yes.
Yeah, isn't this satisfying?
Well,
this gives you so much information, doesn't it? Like,
I did throw some stuff. You know, one of the things for me about The Walking Dead, I have an Easter egg that nobody even knows about. Because the fun part on The Walking Dead was we would always do tribute zombies, and we'd put a zombie from Dawn of the Dead. So in Ash's barn in episode 1, season 2, and also at the junkyard, there's a barrel in the background that has trioxin painted on it from Return of the Living Dead. And if you look in the barrel, we actually created the zombie from the opening of Return of the Living Dead that becomes the Tar Man. And that barrel's in the background, like when you're looking at Ash's when they're taking the plane. I was like, yeah, we should just put the barrel from Return of the Living Dead in there as if maybe that's where the zombies came from. So you go back and look at it, you'll see it.
So wait, so full Easter egg, medium Easter egg, not an Easter egg, but pay attention. So
yeah, you get it all. You got it all.
So David, last week's episode of The Louvre was incredible. I'll never look at the glass walls of that pyramid the same way again. Can you describe what it was like filming there?
Well, the Louvre was one of the top wish lists when we went to France and we were talking about places where we wanted to go and ruin them with the apocalypse. And that took about a year planning to get there, you know, and it was a tremendous amount of planning, a tremendous amount of work to be able to do it. And the story sort of evolved Genet's story sort of evolved a little bit out of how can we fully use the Louvre and see it now and see it before, see it in both time frames. And the interesting part for me was I was not there. I spent a year working to get to that point, and I was not there when we filmed it because there was a little labor strike in Hollywood, and I was not able to be there.
And so these guys all did amazing work there. Greg was there, and Dan Percival and Michael Slovis, who directed that episode, and did a fabulous job. So it was an unusual experience for me, but it was super fun because when I got to go home and look at the dailies, I got to see those dailies having not seen anything that was actually filmed, which is very atypical, and it was just really satisfying. And I thought it did great for us both in terms of the sort of visual scope of the show and in terms of really dialing in Janae's character.
How good was she in that scene as well?
Anne Charrier,
Awesome.
who plays Janae. Yeah.
Speaking of beautiful, amazing, stunning locations there, it's so much fun to see more of The Nest, which is filmed at Mont Saint-Michel this season. It's one of my favorite locations on the show, and I heard that there's a pivotal upcoming scene that was filmed there. And I also heard that we're going to be sharing an advanced look of the upcoming episode, which includes that scene, with the fans in this room only. David, can you confirm that?
Yeah.
That is absolutely correct. And so what you're going to see now are the first 14 minutes of episode 4, which airs on Sunday, including a moment that you will, I suspect, have particular interest in. It continues right from the end of episode 3, which I hope you've seen. But if not, you'll go back and catch it. Anyway, first 14 minutes of episode 4 coming to you right now.
What a great moment. So Norman and Melissa, you could each tell us what it was like finally reuniting on screen, and how did you approach that scene? So great.
Wow, I feel like we got it right, because I mean, I do, and I'll tell you why. Because we took Daryl at a moment where he's locked in jail. The whole fight, everything he's fought for, he can hear it behind him in the jail cell. He's lost. He's at his lowest moment. Like, everything's gone, right? And he's in a frame of mind where the kid walks in, he's like, let me out of here, and he's just like, fuck it, right? He's like, go, 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 go. Yeah, boom, 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 boom. And there was lots of choreography, and it was a big fucking day, and bang, 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 and then boom. The one person, like, I watched that and I tear up, but that's fucked up. But the one person in the world that he needs is like right there. Yeah, it's hard for me to watch that and not tear up a little bit, as corny as that sounds. But, the thing about that relationship is, when we started this show, it was about Rick. The show was about Rick. It was about Rick's journey and everybody around Rick, right? And it branched off into everything. But these two characters were always like, you okay? Like, always were watching out for each other, like, the whole time. And it got bigger, and then we got Cherokee Rose, and then that was a thing. And they were always bonded, and they both come from a place of abuse. And they just always had each other's back. So when you see them on screen now, it's earned. Like, it's not two actors playing the part of somebody, that they've known each other. Like, it's for real. So when we do scenes together and she tears up, I tear up. Like, it's that. It's, the bond is so strong, but you can feel it. Like, it's real. Yeah. Before I start crying, you talk. Yeah.
Norman and I don't do a whole lot of rehearsing or talking about scenes that we're going to do. We just show up as the character, knowing where we are in the story, and letting things happen as we shoot. And that's what I love about working with him. You never know what you're going to get. And it's always so fun and wonderful and surprising. Thank you.
Mateo. Oh, shit.
See?
Sorry, we do stuff like that. What'd you think
About the new episode?
about that scene? About the scene you just watched?
I didn't think it would take that long
For us to find each other? Yeah, we make you wait, you know.
I mean, the whole journey with Ash and Carol, like the plane, the moment I realized that the radio in the plane was actually someone, that's when I knew they were going to use the plane to get to Daryl. But I didn't know that they were going to go to a full-on dungeon place to find Daryl. Honestly, I thought they were gonna find each other on like the episode 2. Like, I don't know about this.
I will say, hey, do you want to be a writer on a television show? Because I got a room full of them, and we could add you. Because it's a good point, though, Mateo. Because that was a conversation, of course, was how long or how short the time it would be for them to find each other. But we did the best we could, Mateo. So
Look,
I'm gonna check with you next time. All right.
Look, that's almost like saying, oh, they should have found Sophia in episode 2 of season 2. You have to earn it. You need to build to it. And that moment of Sophia coming out of the barn is really what solidified The Walking Dead as a powerhouse television show. You have to earn it. And what Norman said and what Melissa said is, if we would have just done it right away, you wouldn't have had the same emotional reaction. So is it a little manipulative of us? Yeah, but that's why you watch the show. So just get on board with us, because the show's great. Look, I've been in the Walking Dead universe for almost 16 years. I was the first person hired by Frank Darabont, and I love this show. And I still love what we do and the stories we tell. And you have to earn it. So that moment was earned, and if it would have happened too soon, you wouldn't have had the same response.
But I will say, if anybody out there at the end of the season wants to recut things into Marco's version, I'll give it a look.
Louis, Daryl's been teaching you a lot of new skills this season, from personal survival skills and self-defense to baseball. Did you undergo any specific training to play your character this season?
Yeah, I did. I remember one day I had to train for the stunts, right? And I think I spent maybe 5 hours training. I went to bed at like maybe 6 o'clock. I was just knackered, and I think I woke up at like 3 o'clock the next day. So that was something that was kind of memorable. And I mean, the scene turned out pretty good. So, I mean, I like that.
But no training for baseball. You were a natural at baseball.
Oh, yeah. I remember that scene. We were shooting at Mont Saint-Michel, and so first time Norman had to throw the ball at me, I had to miss it. But I actually just hit it so hard, and my father has a tape of it where the ball just flies away, and we never found it.
Wait, but you haven't killed any zombies yet. Have you killed any zombies?
Yeah.
When did you? I forget.
Season 1, I killed Quinn. And
that's right. And then in my episode, on the beach.
Melissa, Carol seems to be grappling with a lot of unresolved guilt and grief this season. What's triggered this for her, and is this a different version of Carol than we're used to seeing?
I don't think it's so much a different version of Carol. It's just a more desperate version, maybe. Triggered by she needs her friend. She needs her best friend, and he's not there, and she's worried about him. And I think that's what triggers it. And she will go to any lengths to find him, also becoming very manipulative. And
no.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it worked.
So, Greg, you can't have The Walking Dead without walkers. And on this show, they're awesome and somehow even crazier. How do you go about reinventing from them year after year? And are there different rules in France for all the prosthetics and special effects?
Yeah, we actually sort of opened the rule book a little bit in regards to these. First of all, we had, in season 1, we had these burners, which I think for me, what was exciting was upping the stakes for the characters. Like Daryl and Carol and the characters have been killing walkers for 12 years, and now all of a sudden you throw something new into the mix. So having the burners be a sort of a mutation, and then we had the amped up walkers that they inject. And then in this season, you know, I kind of channeled a little bit of that sort of Asian zombie kind of Train to Busan vibe when they inject them and you see the black veins kind of coursing under the skin, and we changed up the contact lenses so they have black eyes. And you know, that opening scene where the zombies are running after Carol and Cadron in the car, you know, we shot all that. It was almost a year ago, because it was right around Thanksgiving that we shot that. And having the zombies run and all the stunt people, it was just something different. We hadn't done it before, and it was a lot of fun because we could have them leaping through the air and tackling stunt guys. And it added a sort of 28 days later energy to the zombies.
And there's one more really cool one coming up.
There's another,
in episode 6, but we won't give it away. But it's very cool, and I loved it because Greg had to really figure out how to make it work, which he ultimately did. But it was a tough one. It was a tough one to crack.
During the strike, I actually got a little sick, and I had to stay home for a little bit. And I was in the shop shooting tests and sending the tests to the guys in Paris. But it's
check out episode.
It's
the
wild.
finale.
Episode 6.
Amazing walkers you haven't seen before.
All right. Norman, you mentioned in the press that the season finale is one of the best hours of Walking Dead ever. What can you tease about it for the audience, and what made it so compelling, in your opinion?
Well, I meant it, first off. You know, it was such a big undertaking. Like, when we read that script, we were like, what? Like, how are we going to pull this off? It was shot in a location that was so hard to shoot in. It's so claustrophobic. If like you had to go to the bathroom, you had to walk like 4 miles away. Everything about it was rough. Like the crew was tired. It was just a grueling episode. And there's also storylines that you see sort of have, they come full circle finally, which are some of the things that you want to see, like they're all happening in this episode. And then I saw it. I saw a rough cut of it. And I was like, holy shit, we pulled that off, and it's that good. She's insane, and like everybody's just insane in it. And then we did that press conference, and I was like, oh my God, it's episode 6, and I said it, and I meant it. It's one of the most satisfying hours I think I've ever seen on the show, and we've had really good episodes of Walking Dead over all these years. Some of my favorite moments are things that were so long ago or recently happened, but this one, full circle, it's like mwah. Like Mateo says, chef's kiss. Yeah. It's great.
David, outside of that reunion we just saw, what are you most excited for fans to see in these final 3 episodes?
In the final 3 episodes, well, I will say it's interesting. The location at the end of episode 6 is the least favorite location I've ever been in because it was so inhospitable, but the work is so amazing. And partially it's because of the challenges there. That it's amazing as a viewer, but as us making it, it was rugged. I think there's a lot more Paris to see, which I think is really beautiful. And I think mostly it's what you get to see in the second half narratively is you get to see, I can tell you guys because you've just been in the room watching 14 minutes of the show, you get to see them together moving through the environments of France. And sort of seeing these two people reunited and moving through all these incredible places that we're able to go, and the story continuing with these characters that we've established, and ultimately resolving. And the thing I'm proudest of, it goes to what Norm was saying, is the way that everything comes to a head and resolves in the finale episode. I think that's really exciting, and has 2 separate sequences that are probably the 2 most challenging and biggest action sequences we've done on this show, at least, on Daryl Dixon in the 12 episodes we've done. So that, not 1, but 2 sort of massive sequences that are really exciting and powerful. And then the way the intimate stories play out ultimately for Daryl and Carol, I think is really, I'm really proud of it.
Scott, we know that season 3 is currently filming in Spain. Where to next? Are there other areas of the world you're hoping to explore with this universe?
Yeah, we have something cooking up in another area of the world, something very different. And, you know, Mr. Jericho's really into Winnipeg. Yeah, we have something, you know, relatively imminent, and then dreams of the future.
Yeah, I think it's super fun. I mean, just all of you, this is to anyone who wants to chime in on this. How great is it filming in France, and what was your favorite location you filmed in this season?
I loved shooting in Mont Saint Michel, and I remember David saying to me when we got the script, and it was like, oh yeah, and then they blow the door, they blow this thing off, and none of us thought they would ever let us do it. We're like, we're never gonna shoot there. What are you talking about? And then, you know, a tribute to our producers and the French team, they were able to pull off these locations, shooting in the catacombs, and you're standing there and you're looking at these stacks and stacks of skulls, and we're like, there's nothing more Walking Dead than that. So it was really, and it was just beautiful, and I was really excited to get to direct in Mont Saint Michel, and you know, I think the biggest challenge was like, okay, we're going to shoot at the monastery, which was way at the top.
So you'd have to. There was so many.
You'd have to walk it'd take like 20 minutes to walk up to the top, and then you'd film like, okay, now we're gonna go back down to the bottom, and you go all the way back down to the bottom, like, okay, now we got to go back up top again. But you know, just the culture and the history. I loved Mont Saint Michel. It was great.
It was so beautiful. The creative team we have there, building sets, to doing the stunts, everything. They really loved it. And it's wild when you're shooting this show in Georgia. It becomes so big that it's like bang, 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 bang. Like you just don't slow down. And we're in France shooting, and it's a scene with a mule. And the mule's not having it, right? And we're sitting there filming, and we do one take, and then the camera department, Lorenzo and all of them, they go over and they start rolling a cigarette and talking. And I'm like, what are we waiting on, right? And then I found out what they were talking about. They were talking about what story are we telling with the movement of the camera on a simple shot, but to get that right, and I was like, keep talking, right? But that sort of enthusiasm with those locations and that artistry and being so into doing this job, it felt like the first couple of seasons of The Walking Dead. It was that magical. And Spain, same thing. All artists making art and excited to be there. It's we're killing it right now. It feels like that lightning in the bottle of those first few years, you know?
Yeah. I'm going to take some of our social questions and some of our audience questions. On social, only Mzart. Melissa, what's more fun to film with? Daryl's crossbow or Carol's bow and arrow? That's what I want to know.
The crossbow. By far. And Norman's right, it is a math problem. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
From Jameson in the audience, what's some of your favorite behind-the-scenes moments we'll just never see on screen?
David, you want this one?
I don't know what you mean. And if I did, I wouldn't admit it.
Well, I think.
What do you mean? You got
There's a lot of stuff. Look, I mean, you know, when we shoot these episodes, ultimately the first cut comes in at 60 minutes sometimes, 65 minutes, and you have to cut stuff out to sort of fit it into the airtime. So I know in the first episode, there was a bit where Carol was trying to convince Ash that she needed him to go look for parts for the car. And we had a couple scenes where they went back to the car. At one point when Carol crashes into the drive-in movie theater marquee, she passes out for the night, and then the next morning wakes up and the zombies are at the car. And there was another scene with you and Ash sitting at the edge of that little cliff. looking out over the world and you see the storm coming. So a lot of times there's these little scenes and it's really difficult. And as a director, my job is to shoot the script. And I'll talk to David and I'll say, hey, maybe can we consolidate stuff because we don't have time to shoot it. But, they want it all there. So you assemble the whole thing, and then it's really difficult. And David and Scott can speak to this. To go in and have to lift scenes out of the episodes that you may never see that help the story, but you gotta make some sacrifices.
From Sarah
You're welcome.
117. Norman, what's your favorite moment so far being in France and Spain while filming?
Favorite moment ever? Geez, I was really excited to get Mel back. So that I was waiting for. All the stuff with Louis I really liked a lot. And Romain, the dude in Gadron, he's so fun to work with. I think it's meeting the cast. I mean, I'm probably the goofiest guy on the set, with her especially. But I don't know, I just think, when you're in a room and you're all doing it and it's working and everyone's like, yeah. And you don't have to say much, but you just can feel it. Probably all those moments, I guess.
Somebody named Redis Network asked, did you take anything home from set?
From France?
From the set itself. Like, take something home from the set.
Yeah.
Something.
Fess up.
I got so much shit.
So much stuff.
I mean, from Georgia, I have like 9 crossbows. In New York, I live in New York. Probably a felony. Don't tell nobody. They don't work. I got a bunch of knives. Like a bunch of knives.
You got you have the bowling ball zombie head too, right? From the napalm walkers.
I do. I got that. I got Johnny Depp's head from that.
Do you still have Andy's beard?
I do. And I have Scott Wilson's ponytail. Yeah. I still got him. And every day it's like, can we throw these away? I'm like, no. Yeah, I still got all that. I don't know why. I don't know.
Here's a question for Scott. Can we expect any more cameos or surprises from our beloved Walking Dead characters in future seasons of Carol?
I'm going to push. Pardon me. I'm going to push. We've talked about some cool things that may or may not happen, but if the things that we talked about happen, that would be cool.
Bring 7 back.
Greg, you've been such a big part of the universe since the beginning, part of entertainment industry, zombie expert since working with George Romero. When tackling the apocalypse abroad, new adventure for you, how did you integrate yourself with the French cast and crew there? How was that?
Is there somebody talking back there? What's going on?
Yeah, it happened during the last one, too.
I thought it was somebody's phone. Look, what I think was most exciting was when we started doing the show, the show was very popular in Europe. The Walking Dead was so when we got there, they were already really welcoming to us. We found a lot of great makeup effects artists in France and now in Spain, and it really just worked really well for us to sort of integrate into that. We'd been doing zombies in Georgia for 12 years. The first time we went on set with walkers in France, the entire crew stopped working and applauded. And they were walking up and touching the faces. They were so enthralled with it. And it was nice for us to remember that work that we do that takes months of planning and hours to put on, that people really still responded to it. That was definitely exciting, and we get to keep doing it.
It's from Just Miss Gold. A question for Norman and Melissa. It's a good final question. Did you guys ever think you'd play these characters for this long?
I didn't think that I would play Carol for more than 2 or 3 episodes in the first season.
Same answer, by the way. Yeah, we were killing off people on this show every Sunday for a long time. Love
you too. Thank you.
It was always interesting when you knew that a character was going, because the producers would know first, and then they would say, don't tell anybody yet, because we have to make the phone calls and we have to let the actors know. And there were a couple times when maybe the script got sent out without the actors knowing that they were the ones that were going to go, which is really very uncomfortable. And then I remember calling Melissa one day during break, and I'm like, hey, it's Greg Nicotero. It's like, what? What do you want? What's happening? And I was like, I was just calling to say hi. She's like, are you sure? Like, I felt like the Grim Reaper for a minute there. And then there was the time when Michael Cudlitz came and sat in my office one day, and he's like, I love this job. I love these people. This is the greatest job I've ever had. And I'm like, you ain't going anywhere. This was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. At 4 o'clock, we had a meeting in the screening room.
I feel this is
Wait, no. Hold on. We had and then that's when Scott pitched, so it's going to be Abraham and then Glenn. I was like white. It was like, it was like The Mask. My jaw hit the ground, my tongue rolled out onto the table. And I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? So I had to look at Michael for like the next week or two. And it was sad when our characters would die on the show. Like we would have dinners and everybody would get together and they would go to Melissa's house or my house and we would celebrate and we would do skits and do really goofy, fun stuff. But then of course when you look at it and you go, John Bernthal did okay. Stephen Yun did okay. Sonequa Martin Green did okay. So it wasn't terrible that they died off the show. It was more sad for us because we loved working with them.
Do you remember when I was begging everybody to put out a script where Andy dies?
I don't remember.
Yeah. I was like, just put out a script. Yeah, send it to him only. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was one of the, it was during our prank
That's
war.
brilliant. Why did we not do that?
I don't know if people know this, but the best one, I almost got Andy on. So it was during COVID, and we were shooting during COVID, right? So I had what's his name? The beard. What am I thinking about? The guy that runs
Purvis.
Tom Luce. I got him. So we had to do like 1 million tests every day, like up our nose, like all day long. It was a thing, right? But Andy was coming to do something on the show, and so I had a trailer, right? Like the medical trailer, and I had Tom Luce make a poster to put in the trailer so that the doctor would go, okay, Andy, come wait in here, and I'll be right back with you.
I remember.
The poster was of a guy giving himself an anal swab. And then I had him make a giant Q-tip, right? GoPros were gonna go up. I was gonna get the whole thing and get him like, waiting and seeing the poster and being like, no way, right? And then he couldn't make it to set and the joke fell apart, but it was such a good one. Yeah.
Well, on that note, thank you to our wonderful panelists. And thank you all so much for being here. Please tune in for new episodes on Sunday, AMC and AMC+.
Thank you,
Give
Mateo.
it up for our Daryl, Dixon,
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mateo.